Are you looking to up your real estate investing game? Well, you're in the right place. Welcome to the Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub-Tours. My name is William Tingle of Sub2Deals.com, and I'd like to welcome you to this episode of the Sub2 Deals Show, where we talk about all things subject to. Now, occasionally we will cover other real estate topics, but it will always be something to help you with your real estate investing business. Today is another episode in our Real Investor series, where we feature real investors sharing real stories and actual deals. These guys are investors doing deals all across the country. They don't have boot camps or courses to sell. They just have real tips and strategies and the things that are working today in their businesses, in their markets, and they're here to share all of these things with you too. So pay attention and take notes. My guest today is Mike Ryan. Mike is a real estate investor in New Jersey and some surrounding states. He's starting to do some deals a little bit remotely there. Now, Mike has been investing for over 12 years, 3 of those years full time. In Mike's former life, he was a police officer. Thanks so much for doing that for us. We appreciate you. Mike, welcome to the Sub2 Deal Show.
Thank you, William. It's great to be here. Thank you.
Yeah. I was really excited about having you on here today, Mike. A lot of the investors that I talk to, operate from a volume perspective and that sort of thing. You and I share so many of the attitudes about investing for lifestyle. So I'm really excited about talking to you today. Tell us a little bit about your background, what you did before real estate, where you're from, and something about your family.
Sure. So been married for 20 years. We have 4 kids, 19, 16, 15, and then my little guy's 7. Prior to real estate, I was a police officer for 20 years. I retired as a street sergeant and just couldn't wait to get out of that life and get into the real estate life.
Yeah, man, I agree. I'll tell you, I can't imagine how difficult it is being a police officer and dealing with things that you guys deal with. And again, let me just say thanks so much, for your service over the years and getting out there and doing what you do.
My pleasure. Thank you. It was an honor when I did it, but there was a time to move on.
Well, listen, after, a background like that, working as a police officer and everything, what got you interested in real estate?
Well, really, I guess once you learn everything, you realize you have the ability to really print money and create passive income as well. So once you learn a strategy, you implement it, you can really make as much or as little as you need. For example, I choose to only work 3 to 4 days a week. And when I work, I usually don't work any more than 4 hours a day, just because that's what I want to do. If I feel like taking off or doing something else, I just block the day off so my VAs don't schedule any calls and just enjoy the freedom that, I was able to thankfully create. At the same time, slowly building a portfolio so that in the future, I have more freedom to enjoy doing the things I want to do.
You mentioned the word freedom, and that's the first thing that I thought of when you first started talking about what got you interested. You said, I choose to only work 3 or 4 days a week. Now, how many people get to choose how many days a week they want to work? I mean, that's just incredible.
Well, certainly if you're a W-2 employee, you don't have that choice at all, do you?
No, you don't. I'll tell you. And, I've certainly never had the type of high pressure job you did. I was in the restaurant business for 20 years.
Yeah, that's no fun.
We worked 60, 70 hours a week too. It didn't matter which restaurant chain you worked for. It was always the same. So there wasn't much freedom or choosing in that type of business. I can certainly relate. That's the reason I love real estate so much myself is because, once you learn and you get out there and start doing, you can start making choices for your own life. So total agreement with you on that. So I know I talked a little bit about this in the opening here, but tell us a little more if you can. Now, so you've been investing for 12 years total, but tell us, a little bit about that process and everything, how you, got into it and how you transitioned over to full time?
Sure. So in the beginning, I did it just for extra money on the side, maybe take a vacation, do this or that, pay the kids tuition. That's really the only goals that I had with real estate. When I got around the 15-year mark, I guess, in my law enforcement career, I realized I was from a small department, and so we had a lot of guys that they just weren't retiring. So what I realized was, okay, I'm going to make certain promotions, but I'm going to still be a street cop. Even though I might be a supervisor, I'm still working the street. And so I started telling all the guys at work, I'm like, listen, when I get 20, if I'm still on the street, I'm out of here. They're like, you're never going to leave. And so what I did is I started focusing more on, I want to make my real estate replace what I make as a police officer and give me the opportunity to get out. And so I just followed along in that process and finally did it. And so when my 20 years came, I was talking with my mentor at the time who said, Mike, it's time to go. And I went.
So you just listened to what this guy told you and got out of there and got into real estate full time.
Yeah, I mean, that was the goal. I knew that I knew what I would have to make. And initially my goal was to just make the same as I did as a cop.
Hmm.
We were able to thankfully do a little better than that. And, that's where some of the freedom and the choices come in.
Right.
It's not as high pressure, so to speak. And it's not hard. It's like, it's fun.
I know I've had this conversation with people before. They talk about real estate investing being easy. And my answer is usually, well, it's really simple. It's not hard at all. It does require work, though. A lot of people act like they think they can buy a couple of courses, and it's almost like it's microwave. You buy the courses, you stir them up, you throw them in the microwave, and now it's going to pop a deal or whatever. That's going to take a little bit more effort than that.
Yeah, it certainly does. And I mean, you're constantly talking to people and sellers, but once you realize it and once you've done it, you understand it's just a numbers game. You
Hmm.
just have to keep plugging away and plugging through. And then, you close that deal and, you realize you're going to make 20, 30, 40, 50 grand off of the deal. And you're like, I don't even like you're still, even though you've done it over and over, like you look back on it and you're like, wow, that was so easy. Like how in the world is it possible to make that much off of one deal? And it wasn't even hard.
I know it's.
You used to work over 2,000 hours a year as a W-2 employee. I was working night works and shift work and, crazy schedules. And that was hard. You look at this and you're like, wow, I did one deal and I made half of what I used to make in a whole year working in my old job.
And
It's
I know
crazy.
I know that you will agree with me. Even after 20 years for me, so I bought my first house in 1999. You never ever get over the amazement of that you can put a few hours into something, literally, and make what you made last year as an
Yeah.
employee.
Yeah.
It's it's just it. I used to tell people, if you're a real estate investor and you're full time and you don't wake up every morning and the first thing you break into the biggest smile, you're just not doing it right. you
That,
know, it's really an amazing feeling. Well, tell us about your business model now. Everybody's kind of, I talk to transaction engineers who make something of every lead that they get. I talk to people that have a very specific formula like I do. Tell us about your business model. Do you have a specific thing you like, or are you a transaction engineer? Or do you make something of every lead that comes to you?
um, well, I'll try to make something out of everything, if possible. But I can say that I probably tell more sellers that I'm not interested in their house than I get turned down,
Mm-hmm.
just because I don't feel like dealing with it. And then going back to the numbers, I know that I'll get what I need done as long as I'm talking to sellers.
Right.
I mean, flipping, no, I'll never touch it. Never did a flip. Never want to do a flip. Just keep them away from me. I will do short sales. I'll work with foreclosures. Occasionally, maybe a few a year, I'll wholesale just because the opportunity is there. If I can get a decent price, I know I've done it enough times. It's easy, so I'll do it. Um, sometimes we'll do a work for equity program for a house in poor condition. And then, yes, I'll also buy subject to, sell with seller financing or rent to own. If there's not enough spread in the monthly payments that I want to have, then I'll still structure the deal and then just assign it. Um, I do also, even though I don't like to admit it, well, I'm kidding. I have my real estate license. So there are times that if I think the opportunity is there, I'll try that too. I've sold houses on online auctions using my license. You know, I try to avoid the realtors just because when you're talking about, unfortunately, when you're talking about doing creative real estate, it's just out of their normal box of operation. And I just don't have the patience personally to try to explain to them why it's legal. Like, I know what I'm doing is right, so I don't need you to give me permission. Just get out of my way. That's kind of the way I feel.
Right. Yeah, I get what you're talking about. I know we just opened up a new market in Colorado and actually interviewed about 20 real estate agents, but we had to pre-screen 40 to find 20 that would talk to us about, we talked on it. We did an advertisement on Facebook and said, we're looking for aggressive realtors that'll come in and do some stuff with us. They contacted us and we spoke with them over the phone, explained about 50% of the process. And to get out of those, say 40, we got 20 we could actually interview because they just don't get out of the box thinking, you know, they just
I
don't
do.
get.
It's a shame because they're really costing themselves money and opportunity by being putting themselves in that hole and not letting themselves out. But that's their choice.
But as funny as it is, I find that with real estate attorneys as well. I mean, and these guys should know. I've always had better luck with, and actively, if I open up a new market, I'm looking for an older guy that's been around. That's seen contract for deed or subject to. Because these new guys, man, they just don't get it. They
No,
want.
they don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, the people that were around in the 80s, and I mean, that was before I was still a kid in the 80s, but knowing the attorneys that were, they understand all that, the wrap loans and the contract for deeds and all, because when interest rates were so high, that's what they did to sell houses.
That's exactly right. When interest rates were 20% and in negative amortization, that's how they still did deals.
Yep.
Yep. And I got to tell you this too. When you were talking about you do short sales, I got a lot of admiration for you. I tell people the phrase that most favorite one to use is I would rather straddle and slide down a razor blade than do a short sale.
You know what? They're actually fun, and there's not many people that do them. And here's the reason why I love them. I have a negotiator that is excellent that I partner up with. He gets a portion of the deal for whatever we make, and he handles everything with the bank. He handles all the paperwork. All I have to do is lock up the deal and close it with the seller, and then I turn it over to him until it's time to find a buyer.
Well, now is this a friend of yours? Is this somebody that does this nationally?
He is a friend of mine. I don't know if he does do it nationally or not.
Okay. All right. Well, I just didn't know. I know there's some services that do it, but that's
No, this is a local guy that I was introduced to by another friend of mine who
so.
has done a real good job negotiating these
Okay.
deals.
Well, great. Okay. If you got somebody doing all that, then yeah. I mean, I enjoy negotiation too, but I'll tell you, man, that bank stuff, whew, that gets a little bit tedious. And
Yeah, I'm not talking to the banks. I've never talked to a bank once, and we've
yeah.
closed quite a few short sales. And I have never myself ever talked to the bank.
Okay. Well, great. Well, it sounds like you've got your team in place to help you. And I mean, that's really key to getting these things done. Good for you. Um, what would you say, in your experience, are your best sources for leads? Now, my general follow-up question to investors is this: if your life depended on generating quality leads within the next 24 hours, what would be what you did right now to make that happen? Now, of course, anything else that works for you, please feel free to share with us. But what will get your phone ringing today? It's the end of the month. You don't have rent money. You need to put a deal together right now to pay the bills. What are you doing today to get that to happen?
Sure. So if I needed to do it today, I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling the for sale by owners on Zillow and any for rent by owner that offer there as well. Only because I mean they're free leads and they're really unlimited, especially if you don't limit yourself to geographical areas. Um, there's a ton of them out there. For me, we do go after expired listings for sale by owners and the notice of defaults. That's our primary source of leads.
Now, come on, Mike, you're pulling my leg. Everybody knows cold calling doesn't work.
Well, let them keep thinking that, and it's just more deals for those of us who do.
I say that facetiously because I mean, in our coaching group, we do a twice a month call on cold calling ninjas. And that's what I tell people too. Pick up the phone. If you don't have a dollar, everybody's got a phone. You've got the internet. Look up those people who are saying, "Hey, I need to sell my house. Call me now." It's a phone call. It costs nothing. If they're rude or they're mean to you, say, "Hey, doesn't sound like we're going to be able to work together. Have a great day. If you change your mind, you got my number. Click, call the next one."
Absolutely. Absolutely. And there was a time, because a lot of people are intimidated on the phone. And there was a point that I was, and I was still as a cop at the time. And I'm like, wait a minute. I'll ride 90 miles an hour to a man with a gun call, but I'm afraid of talking on a stinking telephone? Really? Are you kidding me? Like, that just doesn't make sense. But the other thing I think that some investors do, and it's a huge mistake, is you'll say, okay, I'm sending out the mailers and I'm not getting the leads. So, hey, I made an effort, but it didn't work for me.
Yeah.
And I think that's a shame, because just get over the fear, pick up the phone, make the call. Don't wait for them to call you. Just call them.
Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, we're getting 25% of our deals from picking up the phone. And again, there's no expense with mailing. I love driving for dollars too in a local situation, but there's gas involved, there's wear and tear in your car, there's time. What I tell people, especially people getting started, is don't burn yourself out. Don't try to call 100 people a day. Pick up the phone, call 10 people a day, and let that be it. If you're doing it Monday through Friday, you're calling, a couple hundred people a month. That's it. And you will get a deal if you do that consistently. You will buy a house a month.
Absolutely. No doubt.
It's just too simple. Do it. Uh, do you have any favorite tools that you use in your business that you can share with us? Things that make the job easier? I mean, you talk about cold calling, and I know a lot of people use different dollars and other services like that. I mean, I'm pretty old school, just pick up the phone and call, but anything like that, or CRMs, or anything else, anything that you use you could recommend to help an investor?
I'm building my own CRM now that has a lot of automations in it and triggers that I'm pretty excited about. It's kind of put together already, and I'm just doing the different things and putting all the pieces of the puzzle together to automate as much as I can. But speaking of automation, one of the things that if when you're selling on seller financing and rent to own, what I have found is if you allow it to happen, buyers will take up a lot of your time, because it's typically the same questions over and over from really unqualified people. Not that you don't want to talk to them, I'm not being mean, but you're in business and you need to spend time doing what makes you money when you're working. So for vacant properties in particular, we use this system, and they're not the only game in town, but I've picked it's called tenantturner.com, and we use that for vacant properties, and it's really cool because what we do is we're able to put a lockbox on the property. The buyer gets to see that the property is available. They inquire on it. They're sent to a website that asks them all these different qualifying questions that I create, and I can decide whether or not how they answer that allows them to continue with requesting a showing. So have you read the down payment? Do you have it? Do you make the monthly requirements? Are you aware this is seller financing and not rent to own? And if they answer yes to all that, they get the opportunity to schedule their own appointment whenever they want. They have to upload their ID so we know who they are. When they get there, they have to text in the number that's on top of the lockbox code. It's stamped on the box. And then they send them a code that's only good for like 15 or 20 minutes. So they can't come back later and get in. It's all automated, so I never even have to talk to these folks. There's times that like I might not check my email for a whole day. I'll wake up the next day and I have an application for one of the houses in my email box because someone went to the property that I didn't even have to talk to.
I'll tell you, that sounds great. Like I said, I'm rather old school. I mean, my CRM for years has been a legal pad. I'm too stupid for Podio, and most of them just don't do the things that I want them to do. But I mean, this sounds like something that actually may interest me. It sounds like it operates a lot like the agents' Supra systems out there.
Um, as far as, yeah, it does. And I can get reports. If I wanted to, I could set an email anytime someone opens up the lockbox. I can get notified. I can see what time they went in and what time they opened it. So there
Mhm.
are some other back end things that help. But all of that's also with the CRM that I'm putting in, just asking different questions and trying to filter people out. And I really don't give anyone the opportunity to be able to call me until they've put themselves through a funnel to sort of pre-qualify themselves. If they're not willing to watch a video on how my program works and take the time for that video to explain to them how it works, I don't have the time to talk to them either.
Absolutely.
So, that's just what I try to put them through. And I think sometimes, I mean, there is another side of that. It could sometimes take you maybe a little bit longer to sell the property because you're not readily accessible. But that's just my choice in the model that I'm building out. That I don't want to talk to someone until they've sort of shown themselves quote unquote worthy. And I don't say that like in like oh they can talk to me now. I mean that they're not kicking tires. They're not, oh, I only have $2,000 to put down. Like,
Right. Listen, 100% agreement with you on that. I've said for years, I don't want to talk to them until they've jumped through some hoops. And part of that, Mike, for me, is pre-screening the prospect and training them now in how they're going to deal with me going forward. They're going to have to do some things if they want to buy a house from me.
yeah, and I get some people that get aggravated at it, but it's great because they give me an attitude now. What did that just do? It saved me so much grief later. Because if they're already, this is our first introduction, they're sending me a nasty text message or a nasty email. If I if I put them in the house and now that personality I have to deal with in the house, I just rather find out now.
Yeah, 100% right there. Um, Mike and I are going to take a quick break. And when we come back, he's going to share with us the criteria that he uses when he's evaluating a sub two deal or any other deal he's looking at. What are the numbers that he's looking at as far as deciding if he wants to pass or play? So you guys stay with us. We'll be back in just a minute.
The Sub 2 Deals Show with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle. We'll be right back. Have you ever had a seller give you a house? It's a pretty awesome experience. If a seller wanted to give you a house today, would you know what needed to be done to make the deal happen? Would you like to learn how? The Ultimate Sub 2 Guidebook will show you exactly what you need to get those deeds and sell those houses with seller financing. Join the thousands of other investors across the country who learned how to get the deed with the Ultimate Sub 2 Guidebook. Get the Ultimate Sub 2 Guidebook today at sub2deals.com. Back to the show, the Sub 2 Deals Show, with your host, Sub 2 expert William Tingle.
Hey, Sub Tours, this is William Tingle. I am here today with Mike Ryan. Mike is an investor in the New Jersey area, and he is sharing some great information with us on his business model, how he generates leads, how he does real estate. He's a full-time investor, but he works on a part-time basis, and how he's created the life that he wants by design. When we left, Mike was just about to tell us about the criteria that he uses when he evaluates a lead that comes to him. He's done the marketing, he's generating calls, talking to sellers, and now he's getting the numbers that he needs to decide if this is something that he even wants to look at. So, Mike, tell us, what are the numbers that you're looking at? How do you decide when a lead contacts you that it's something that you want to do?
Well, I mean, can I make money? Is the first one. Is there money here to
Exactly.
be made, or can I create that money?
Mhm.
I think that's the other way to look at that. Can I create it by creating equity via a short sale, or can I create it by giving me time to pay down a loan and mark up the price and stuff? So if you're talking about a sub two deal specifically, I'm usually looking around. I'd like to get a 7 to 10% discount at least, which really is not hard to do. I mean, you figure you could take 6% off just in realtor commission. You take an extra 1 to 2% off of closing costs, and you're already at 8% discount. I really don't try to offer that high. I just, whatever the payments are, I just say, well, we could take over the existing payments on the loan and buy the house and it'll be paid off when our buyer gets a new loan. And I'll let them ask me about their equity and then start the conversation of what we're going to agree to for their equity, if we're going to hold it or give them a certain amount of cash, which won't be a lot. I mean, if someone says, oh, I want 20 grand down and I know that's my whole down payment, well, I'm not doing that. I'll give them a
Mhm.
few grand because I need that money. That's how I make profit. That's how I keep reserves in case I need it. And that's not their money. I'm the one creating the opportunity. I'm the one creating that, helping them sell a house that they no longer want. So I need to get what I want too. But the discount on a deal, and I'm looking as far as monthly cash flow, I like to be pretty close to $400 a month.
Yep.
Um, I know when I sell it, I can also mark it up at least 5 to 10% over market value to get an even higher price. So I mean, even with a 10% discount, I know that I can create a 15 to 20% or more spread.
Yep. Absolutely. $400 is typically, our target. Of course, we'd like more if we can get it, but you can pay full price for a house and get that thing knocked down 10% just with a cost to sell analysis. Cost to sell are real, especially, if you're local there, you get face to face with the seller, you break out a legal pad and you start showing them this, if you have to make this house payment for 3 more months, you have to insure it. There's maintenance on it. Houses that are vacant are super easy to get a 10% discount off of. And you can make a ton of money buying houses at 95% on the dollar in a decent market. It doesn't have to be rapidly appreciating.
Totally agree.
Yep. So yeah, that's spot on right there. It's so easy to turn a $50,000 profit over a 3-year period of time between your upfront, your monthly cash flow, and then the equity build up and principal pay down that you're going to get out of a house that you pay full price for. And a lot of people don't understand that, but it sounds like you operate very similar to what I do in that respect.
I
Can
try.
you,
I'm in good company then.
I'm sorry, what was that?
I said I try. I guess I'm in good company with you.
Yeah, listen, I've been doing it for years, and it's just something most people think you have to have a ton of equity, and equity's great. I mean, I'm never going to turn it down, and occasionally you'll have a seller walk away, from a house that's got 30% equity or more, just depending on what their situation is in life. But when you're buying deals like this, that you're paying, you know, realistically, you're paying 100% of market value. Those are everywhere. There's no reason you can't go out and buy one or two of these houses a month if you just pick up the phone, knock on the door, just be willing to talk to a seller. If it's not, worth, or think about it like this. This is, I try to tell people all the time. If I told you that you could go make 100 calls this month or knock on 20 doors this month and you could make $50,000, would you not be willing to do it? You'd prefer to work 40 or 50 hours a week for a year to get the same 50? Come on.
Yeah, you're totally right. And it goes back to, when we started off and we're talking about the ability to print money. I mean, when you learn these strategies and, someone like yourself to help uh, folks learn how to do them, and you learn that you can take a house with zero equity, just like you were just saying, and you can turn that into a $50 profit. I mean, you really just learned how to basically print money.
That's right. And not have somebody come put you in handcuffs when you do it.
Yeah, you never want that to happen for sure.
Yeah, you don't. Well, Mike, can you give us an example of maybe a typical deal that you got going on right now?
Yeah, sure. So we just closed on this one. Um, it's subject to. We took subject to at 132K loan balance. We did agree to give cash to the seller of $2,000. And she actually wanted more. Like she came in and she saw the contract and she's like, well, I really want more. And we were like, um, I said, well, sorry, that's our company policy. We don't have it to give. We can give you the couple grand that we agreed to. If not, that's okay. No big deal. And she signed the contract the next day. And I just knew the house was vacant. She was making monthly payments on it. It was previously tenant occupied. She's been paying for and you even said a few minutes ago on making the properties. She's been paying that for months. And that was part of course, what I told her. I said, how many more months do you want to keep paying on a vacant property? If you have another way to sell it, that's fine. But this is the best I can do. I'm sorry. So 132 plus 2K cash. The monthly PITI that we took over was 1350. That was pretty nice. We're getting $320 a month today, right now, in principal pay down. So of course that increases every payment by a little bit. We sold it on a rent to own for $159.9. We got a $79.95 option fee, plus we usually charge a $595 processing fee. The rent we're getting is $17.95, so we're getting a $445 monthly spread. It's a nice deal. Upfront gross was $85.90. We're estimating that at 24 months, at the time that the rent to own's over, total potential gross profit of 46, almost 47 grand on this one deal. And we also did give the tenant buyer, the opportunity that if they came with another 5% down, we would convert it to seller financing.
Right. Now, super deal. And if they come in with other 5%, and a real selling point to these buyers is what they're going to save as far as with their tax write-off when they convert over to seller financing, what their true costs are going to be when they write off interest on the loan instead of they're just doing the rent to own.
And that's exactly what I told them as far as why they should convert to seller financing when I handed them the keys.
Mm-hmm.
I encouraged them that we should do it as soon as they can so that they can take advantage of those benefits. And I even said, so you can get the write-off instead of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because they asked me what the payment was going to be. And I said, well, if we do seller financing, your payment's probably going to be the same, but let me tell you what you do get. And then I told them exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, wow, okay, we're going to come up with that. Can we do that in the next 6 months? I said, we can do that whenever you have it.
And that really probably it takes their effective rent down, $500-600 a month.
Oh, sure.
You
With the
know,
tax
yeah,
benefits, yeah.
yeah. And when you show people those numbers, that's one reason I'm so excited about what the environment that we've got going on right now. There were a group of us talking a few days ago. This is actually being recorded during the COVID-19. We've got major lenders like Chase and Wells Fargo that are requiring A borrowers, I mean, people in the 740 and upwards credit score range to come to the table with 20% down. We typically ask for 10% down, and you get into some of these nice neighborhoods where the houses are, which in my market are 350, 375K. And they would have to bring $70,000 down to the closing table as an A borrower. And a lot of these houses in these subdivisions are, just builder homes, so they have identical floor plans. They can buy from me with 35,000 down, no junk fees, no points, keep an extra 35,000 in their pocket. And since we don't have a prepaid penalty, they can refinance as soon as everything's straightened out. We're super excited about the prospects in the coming months and what that's
Oh,
going to.
absolutely. I was just talking to my lender, one of the lender that I used yesterday, and talking about some of the buyers that we were trying to convert from seller financing. They were trying to, and some other deals that we were working on. And he was telling me all the stuff like that Wells Fargo and Bank of America are doing on the back end in the secondary market, and that these these lenders can't sell off their loans anymore. And he's saying, thousands of small lenders are going to go out of business. And, he's like, and he said, so what about you? I mean, are you worried about this? I said, no, I sell and seller financing. I'm actually excited. This is the perfect storm for us.
I mean, really, we went through a detailed analysis a couple of days ago about the market from the seller's perspective, what's most likely going to happen with home values, buyers and potential buyers, pools of buyers we were never able to attract before that are going to consider buying from us just from the savings of the money in their pockets. And I mean, if you're looking for a nice 4 bedroom, 2.5 bath home in this neighborhood, and if you have a 740 credit score, would you rather hand Wells Fargo 70 grand to get in that house or give the investor with an owner finance situation 35,000 grand, even with the offset in the interest rate? If they could get financing, the difference in the interest rate, they're going to write it off on their taxes. So what would you rather do as an A borrower?
Oh yeah, you're 100% right. And as you mentioned, the sellers are going to be stuck with the problem that they're not going to be able to sell now because I think you just said the buyer pool has gone down. So now that's why it's the perfect storm. Sellers can't sell, we can buy. Lenders can't lend, we can.
We could be the banks.
Absolutely. Yep.
Great. I'm telling you, man, it keeps me awake at night. I can't wait to get off quarantine, and be able to get out in the marketplace. I mean, we still do stuff by phone, but just to get out in it, and do some stuff. So it's super exciting.
Yeah, it'll be cool once they start letting us abide by the Constitution again.
Isn't that the truth? Well, Mike, think about your most unusual deal, and I tell you, this is my favorite question to ask people. I've heard about situations with multiple heirs, a couple of them disappearing. I've actually heard, if you believe this, a couple of deals where there were murder for hire plots involved, all kinds of stuff. So I'm really interested to hear about what you have. Think about your most unusual deal, the one with the most difficult circumstances, the most unusual situation, the most moving parts. Can you tell us about it?
Yeah, this one actually had a ton of moving parts. So this seller owed about 105K on a house. It was another house that was previously tenant occupied. It had been an expired listing, and at the time it was listed at 140,000. Now, when these tenants left the place, it was totally destroyed. And when they vacated, they even left their cats in there that urinated all over everything. The house was just, the odor in there was incredibly, it was just bad.
What's
Um,
what's
they,
Ron
they,
Brand call that? The smell of money.
well, yes, absolutely. Yes. And that's what I was thinking. But, these other things that I was dealing with, I'm like, okay, how can I make money here? So, the bathroom floor was rotted out from water damage. The entire bathroom needed to be gutted. Even all the carpets had already been taken out. And because of the cat urine that had permeated into the subfloor, it still stunk in there. Like it was in the plywood that was under the carpets. Now the seller, it was just, the house was disgusting. And the seller's like, Mike, I don't know what else to do. I can't keep making these payments. I need to get rid of this house. I can't kill my credit. I don't want to do a short sale. That's the last thing that I possibly want to do. But the equity just wasn't here. A flipper, the ARV of the house would probably be about $150, $165-ish. So when you talk about the $30,000, $40,000 it's going to take to restore it, a flipper needs to pay probably somewhere in the area of, I don't know, 65, 75K, give or take a little bit.
Right.
So what we did is I locked it up on an option agreement for this for seller financing at the loan balance. I located a buyer who took it for 115K, which included my 10K assignment fee. And I assigned a land installment contract. The buyer loves the house. He's basically just making a monthly payment to the seller. But what I explained to the seller was, hey, you know what? Right now you have no way of making money on this house. You owe more than it's worth in its current condition. But look, let me show you how you can make a few grand later down the road, because you still have monthly pay down. So I pointed that out to him that his loan was getting paid down much faster than this other new loan that was just created. so that at the end, when the buyer refinances, he can actually make money off of this house. And he was real excited about that. The buyer's doing all the work himself. And, I told him, I said, hey, as soon as you're done the work, refinance, because you're going to have enough equity in this thing that not only can you refinance, you're going to reduce your monthly payment, but you also can take out the money that you just put into it to renovate it and put that money back in your bank account so it's liquid. And, so he was all excited about that. And they did find the cats. The cats ended up being dead and decomposed under the dryer in the
Nice.
basement. Yeah. But next, after that, the seller and his girlfriend were having a baby, and they needed to sell her 2-bedroom condo. So because I do happen to have my license, I listed that and put that under contract in about a week. And then I sold them the 4-bedroom house that they needed to buy. So one phone call got me 3 deals.
Wow. 3 deals from one phone call. Do you remember how you marketed to get that seller call?
Text message
Text message.
to
Oh, wow.
expired listings.
Man, that is a great story. That is a great story. If you had to guess, if you don't mind, just off the top of your head, what do you think your profit was probably off of a text message and those 3 deals that you put together?
It was easily over 20 grand. I don't remember the exact numbers, but
Yeah.
I made over 20 grand from one text message.
And you didn't have to actually take any of these properties. They were basically all realtors commissions, assignment fees, and that sort of thing.
Correct. If the monthly payment were low enough that I could still get what I wanted market rent within there was only a $60 spread. So for me, we talked earlier about $400 is my minimum. So I'm not touching that.
Oh yeah,
If it was there, I would have closed on it. I would have taken it sub 2 and I would have still sold it the same way.
yeah. And that's great. That is great. A lot of moving parts for sure. An interesting story. Love it. You've told us several stories about things that you've done, deals you've done. How did you learn to do the real estate transactions that you do?
Over the years, I've worked with a lot of different, some gurus, some coaches, just bought different courses along the way and really kind of put a bunch of things together to make what I do mine. Took different personalities, different strategies, different paperwork, and just morphed it into what I wanted my business to be like.
So just a piece here and a piece there. I know, and that's really that's really how I got started too. Any course or training that I could take in a topic that interested me, I did it, and I just took a piece from this and a piece from that, and so I like this, I don't like that, and we put it all together, and just turned it into a business model that works for us. And I think really that's just the best way to do it.
Yep.
Yep, total agreement for that. I've had people that I've talked to through the years, and we sell materials as well. We sell courses, we offer training, of course, and then even people that were evaluating somebody else's product, and they say, "Oh, I'm not going to pay whatever it may be. Maybe it's $495 for a course that will teach you from start to finish how to do wholesaling, or maybe it's rehabbing, whatever the topic is." And they're like, "Oh, there's no way. There's absolutely no way that I would do that." But someone will go out and come out of college with a degree and 6 figures of debt, and in a job field that's hard to get into for a job, and think that that's a bargain. And it's never made sense to me.
No, it doesn't make sense to me at all. And I know people, they're scared sometimes. A lot of folks, they may not have that $497 to spend on a course, but they see there's a potential that they could, make a lot of money and change their circumstances. And, I guess there's a certain sacrifice. Sometimes it's financial, sometimes it could be time, whatever. But to your point, they get out of that college, but how many people are willing to come out of college 6 figures in debt in a job field that wasn't even their major, but they really don't say, oh, well, college didn't work. They'll say, oh yeah, back when they'll talk about all the good times in college, right? The parties and stuff probably. But, they don't take it because unfortunately they're just programmed to think that that's what you need to do. Where that $495 real estate course could make you an untold amount of money if you were to implement it. Real estate education, the way I've looked at it, looking over the years, looking over the different mentors that I've had, the different coaches, each one plays their own little part, and each one builds on, everything that you have. It's the building blocks. We were talking about college. You're not going to go to college and be able to do a college math course if you didn't learn how to do math through grammar school. So does anyone say, well, grammar school didn't work? No, it obviously did. You build on it. So you may have one coach that you learn something off of, and then you move on to another coach that maybe you're doing something else with, or even staying with the same one. Different people do different things, but what you realize looking back is how much you really learned from all of them cumulatively, and the different bits and pieces that went together to make the whole you of what you now are as an investor. And just like when you're building a house, you dig a hole, you put in a footer, then a foundation, then the bricks, then the roof. And that's what real estate mentors and coaches are like. And you never know when you're going to get that golden nugget. I was on a call last year, I think, and just listening in. And one thing was said on that call that just hearing that one thing has made me multiple 5-figure checks just from hearing that one call.
Right.
And you never know when you're going to have that opportunity. So I would encourage people to plug in to folks such as yourself who know the business, who care about their students, who want to genuinely help people succeed, and just plug away at it.
Yep. Total agreement, Mike. That's excellent advice. But and on the note of advice, if you could give new investors today, people that are looking at real estate, thinking about getting started, maybe they're scared, maybe they're just not sure what to do, they're not sure, what their niche is going to be. If you could give a new investor today wanting to get started any advice based on your 12 plus years of experience to date, successful experience, what would it be?
Pick something and do it, especially now with everything that's happening in the market and with this COVID stuff and everything. There's never going to be the perfect timing. There's never going to be the perfect situation. You're never going to understand each and every little detail of a subject to or whatever your strategy is. Really, the time is now. And so if I learned anything from all the years of playing around with real estate, in hindsight, I wish I took it serious sooner. I wish I took it serious sooner. And I would just encourage them, don't be like that. Do it right now. If you don't know what you're doing, again, find a mentor, join a coaching group, do whatever it is that you need to do. Just do something, take action.
Yeah, take action. Isn't that the key? You can buy the course, you can watch the video, you can do whatever, but if you don't take some action, nothing's going to happen.
Yep. And people think that, and that you have the magic pill. Oh, I just bought this course and now I'm going to, become a millionaire. No, there's still work involved. There's still learning involved. You're going to have to talk about to a bunch of sellers and learn that they hang up on you, or this didn't work, or that didn't work. But when you keep plugging away and you keep learning how to take everything you've learned and put it into your personality and your method of operation, and you just don't give up, there's really no way that you can fail.
Right. I totally agree with you, Mike. Well, Mike, I want to just tell you, I appreciate you so much today being with us. You've shared some great information. It sounds like you've got a great business going out there, getting to do exactly what you want to do. And I know you've helped a lot of our listeners today. So again, I just want to thank you for taking the time out to be here with us today and sharing that information.
My pleasure, William. I thank you for the opportunity.
Okay. Thanks so much. And we'll talk again soon.
Well, Sub-Tours, that is it for this episode of the Sub-2 Deals Show podcast. You can find the show notes for this episode along with a complete transcript at sub2podcast.com. If you enjoyed this episode, we would love it if you would subscribe. please give us a 5-star rating and review on Apple Podcasts. It only takes a minute and it helps others discover the show. You can subscribe as well as leave a rating and review by visiting Apple Podcasts and just do a quick search for the Sub 2 Deal Show. It'd also be great if you would consider sharing our podcast with a fellow real estate investor who you think may benefit from it. And finally, if you haven't yet, you can join our absolutely free Facebook Subject To group at sub2forum.com. You can also get lots more resources to help you grow your real estate investing business at sub2deals.com. So until our next show, keep learning, keep talking to sellers, and you will buy some houses.
Thanks so much for listening to this episode of the Sub 2 Deal Show with William Tingle. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave a review and subscribe. And for more great content and to stay up to date, visit sub2deals.com and on Facebook at Sub 2 Deals. We'll catch you next time.